patented scan and get your free reputation report card. Or for immediate assistance with your reputation, call 800-292-2746. Our cutting-edge technology helps make your Google search results look their best. Call 800-292-2746. 800-292-2746. That's 800-292-2746. Or take the free scan at reputationdefender.com.
Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez. From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing asses. She's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Hello, everybody. It is Wednesday. I don't have to say it so confidently. I seriously say the days of the week sometimes. And over the last 18 months, 20 months during the pandemic, I don't even know why I really claim any day of the week with any sort of certainty. But I believe it's Wednesday. And if you go along with me on that, then we shall live in that world together. This is your conversation. We're talking about the topics you want to discuss. Give us a call anytime during the show, 773-763-WCPT. Once again, that number is 773-763-9278. That's a number you can call or text us to our lovely text screen. But we would rather hear your lovely voices. And you can join us on our live stream. We have a live stream on Facebook. Go to the WCPT 820 page, and you can see us streaming right there with my face will be right there. Also on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. So in the event that we have a circumstance like the other day where Facebook just went gone, you can still catch up with us if you prefer to watch the show, have it on in the background, and it's just a fun way to connect with other listeners as well. By the way, we have a lovely community of listeners, and I should probably check and see who's watching right now. Let's see who's watching. I can't reach that screen right now. I'll have to go during the break. But give us a call and let us know what's on your mind. Obviously, a lot to talk about nationally and locally. Some folks have been asking me about the recent newspaper articles in the Tribune about Eric Ferguson at the Mix. It's oddly enough, I got a phone call that the first day that this story broke, that my name was mentioned on the air on the Mix, and then they looked and dug it up and realized that it may have been, once they knew the story was coming, they went to the best of reels, and apparently they were Eric or somebody on the team was talking about jokes that I make about my family and about passive aggressive compliments, backhanded compliments and things like that. It was just kind of weird to be thrown in the mix, as it were. But I've been getting a lot of messages from folks because they've thought of me and have heard my situation when it comes to working in a work environment where women and women of color in particular are considered to be less than. And it is very hard to watch this. What I have realized, I just learned today, I was talking to an attorney and I was asking, I think that, how do I explain this? Because I keep having conversations with men where they say, well, we just didn't know better. And I get what you're saying, but you have to understand that it's never been comfortable or safe for women. We have never felt like, well, he's just being that guy, because we have always been this woman. We have always been inside our bodies feeling smaller in spaces where we almost have to ask for permission to occupy any sort of sense of power. And when we step outside those boundaries, we tend to threaten men, and they want to put us back in our place. But somebody asked me when I was touched by a superior, had I filed a police report. Now, this happened in 2016, and I had not. Why would I? No, 773-763-WCPT. I want to know two things. Is anybody out there in a situation where they have filed a police report where you've been fondled or groped, had your butt grabbed, you were breast fondled, and you've gone and filed a police report? Because I would say that most of us just never do, because we consider that to be the cost of being a woman. That's going to happen to us. We've been trained and taught to just brush it off and not say anything. And we don't say anything because we feel safer that way in whatever situation we're in. For me, it was always, in particular, to feel safe. In the last place that this happened to me. I'm so grateful to be a WCPT. They keep having to remind me because I feel like a puppy that's been kicked too many times. I'm like, oh, you guys are really nice here, and I feel safe here. And that's been a long time since that's been the case in any sense of any employment that I've had, whether as a comedian or as a radio host. So I'm just curious if anybody has ever filed a police report in a situation where they've been fondled or groped, because I would wager that most of us have not. And the other question is, do you think that we should? Because it is, I talked to a lawyer today, in fact, one of my own attorneys, and she said that it is battery. And I just never thought of it that way. I just thought, again, that it was just something that happened and we just had to live with it and that nobody would do anything about it. And I just don't know. I don't know if anyone's ever, I'm sure somebody has to have at some point. Dave from Hoffman Estates, I'm guessing there's another conversation you'd like to have because you called right away. What's on your mind, Dave? Please distract me a little bit.
Real quick, when you mentioned on that, the grabbing of the butt there, well, maybe the Jacksonville Jaguars coach Urban Meyer might get one charge on him. He's in trouble for that.
See, Dave, that's my point. Is we kind of laugh it off a little. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, guys do it to each other, kind of a thing, and that's sort of the expectation. And so we've been, in our culture, we've been taught that we have to just kind of take it. But I see what you're saying. What'd you call it? What'd you call it?
I guess there's a video on that. I don't know. He was in a bar or something, I've heard, and I don't know what kind of clothing the woman wore too. So I don't know. But I was going to talk to you about was this morning I was watching CNN, and the reporter Kyung La, who by the way is a graduate of Hoffman Estates High School, she was reporting on about all these boats at the point of entry over there at Long Beach, California, that they can't come in, because it's just they don't have enough longshoremen and workers.
Oh wow!
To unload these ships and that, and there's just dozens and dozens. She was up in a Coast Guard helicopter flight, and it looked just like a mini flotilla for D-Day, just with the ships just waiting to come in to unload these boats. I mean, they're stacked about 4, 5, 6 high with just the connexes and whatnot, and they're saying that a lot of these toy makers and that can't get the toys out, for Christmas and whatnot because they just can't get it unloaded. These businessmen, they're looking for alternate ways to get it out. But
remember our friend from Timeless Toys last week told us that if you want to buy something special for Christmas, if there's something you have in mind and you already know what it is, buy it now because they don't know what their supplies will be like after Thanksgiving. So that's we're early shop. We keep I hope my son's not listening. Although he's 18 now, so I think it's fine. But we keep a tub of rolling gifts something that strikes us that we see in the store or something on sale, and we just put it in our basement and have it ready to go for Christmas.
There you go.
That's people go ahead and plan ahead.
I thought you might find that of interest in that.
Yeah.
That she was in her case too. That she's a Chicago girl. She graduated with my oldest nephew from Hoffman. Small world.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Anyway,
thank you, David.
Get off so you can get to the other guys. All right.
I appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much, and thank you to our texters who are messaging me, and thank you, Bob, and thank you to our friends who are listening and again messaging. And yes, it's good to be someplace that I feel safe, Lamond. It's been a long time, and thank you to our listener from that the other station went downhill. I have invited our friend, by the way, and Esmeralda's been on the show, just so you know. So I promise to have Esmeralda back. We are on every Friday night on Whiskey and a Cookie on my Facebook page. You can go to Patty V Show. Esmeralda Leon, Elliot Serrano, and Adam Selzer join me every Friday night at 6:30, and sometimes Scott Stantis, if he remembers. So thank you so much for that message. I appreciate it, and I missed Nick D as well. And we have another call. We got Steve from the Gold Coast on the line. Hi, Steve. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you. And I'm going to say something with regard to the topic that you've raised, because I do think that sometimes we just sort of shake it off, that, that this is something that women have to put up with. And it's no big deal because it's not actually sexual assault, so then we just kind of dismiss it. When in reality, it's a lesser degree of that. But it is still an assault. And I take it from somebody. I spent my 20s and 30s in New York, South Beach, Las Vegas, L.A., and Chicago at clubs and bars and so forth. And I saw what happens when you mix alcohol and people who think that that this is a giant orgy, basically, which is what the club scene is. And then you get all sorts of behavior that's inappropriate. And then I've also witnessed it in the workplace, where people think that you work with someone, you get to be familiar with them, and that entitles you to either do or say things that you otherwise shouldn't. Shouldn't be in a position to say. And unfortunately, women are placed in an impossible situation because, who wants to be the woman who's out with their friends and then some guy grabbed something, and then, okay, let's call the police, let's end the night, and let's fill out a police report, that sort of thing. She doesn't want to, be the party pooper,
right.
Look like a party pooper. And at work, she doesn't want to get labeled as, we don't want to hire her down the road, we don't want to promote her because she's a troublemaker kind of thing. And that's the dilemma that women find themselves in, because, you shouldn't have to make the choice between my career and, being assaulted. That's just not a choice that we need to put to women. That they shouldn't have to make that choice in their lives. But this goes to changing the culture and the way in which we socialize young men. And there's just some things that should not be permissible. And again, I came from a generation in which there were a lot of things, off-color jokes and things that people used to say. I went once to a business meeting that was at a strip club. It was not my idea, but the client wanted to have it there. It was in Texas. Go figure. And then I said to myself, okay, I know that there are women who work in this office that I'm contracted to do some work for. Where are they? Because they certainly aren't going to show up to this thing. And then you wonder, did anybody think for a moment, how a woman would feel if she were asked to come here and were notified that we're having a meeting at a strip club?
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous. But
the presumption is that there aren't going to be women, and if they do, they got to deal with it.
Right, exactly. Rather than saying, wow, this might not be the best idea in terms of places to meet. But yes, and that's why I said, we've got to socialize people to think differently. And this is no longer the 1950s. The workplace isn't just for men. They're women, and we need to be cognizant of how we treat our fellow employees.
Yeah, it's true. And I will tell you, having spoken to people who want to take I talked to lawyers after I left my previous employer, and I've talked to lawyers since, and somebody asked me, how did he grab your ass? And we've said it so many different ways. Like, we just say that, I grabbed my butt, right? And you don't think much of it. And like Dave was saying, patting and things like patting someone on the butt and the behind. It never occurred to me to go beyond having to describe it that way. And when I think about it, it was that he cupped my bottom and jiggled it for me. It was very proprietary. It was
right, exactly. And I appreciate a lot of the callers. I mean, you get a lot of regulars. They're regulars on a lot of shows on WCPT. But I would be remiss if I didn't take issue with the notion that, okay, what she was wearing has any impact on...
I cringed a little bit. I think that Dave would probably... And I will say this, Steve. I have talked to a lot of my friends who have worked with me in previous places of employment, including the Chicago Park District. I think I've mentioned this before. I was a lifeguard, and I have been having conversations with people who are trying to get the history of the Park District and the toxic culture. And I've talked to my friends who I worked with at North Avenue Beach in the 1980s, and it always starts, every single one of them starts with, well, yeah, we certainly couldn't get away with that now. We definitely weren't PC. And then I start reminding them of the things that we endured as women at the beach, and all of them have daughters, and it shouldn't have to be that they have daughters, but they're all...
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
And that's a really good point, because if we could get men to start thinking about this in terms of, okay, you may think this out. Now, ask yourself if that was your sister or your mother.
Yep.
In a similar situation, and there was another guy involved. And also, men, we'd like to sort of reframe things, just like a lot of people do, who were in a position of power, that somehow in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and on, things were better. It's just that what is politically correct changed. No, the reality was that somebody who you may have victimized was not in a position to report you or do anything about it.
Thank you.
Continued to victimize. It's not that they were going along with it, and the people of today are just party poopers somehow.
Yes, yes. And there's so many things here, Steve. We could unpack all of it, but even the people who are saying that the women at the mix who waited too long or didn't say something sooner, and first of all, we have been telling people. I've been telling people from the beginning. I even told management at my previous job. It's whether or not they amplify it or are willing to listen to us. Most of us tell somebody. And
if you have time, if you're bored or whatever, and you want to watch mindless television, do yourself a favor and tune into something like Mad Men. It's a great drama about a period that will kind of fill you in on the dynamic between men and women and what it was versus what it can be. And I think that it was a great show in that sense, in a lot of ways. But that was one of the messages that you get out of that. So I'm not asking you to read a scholarly article. Just tune into a period piece that's done really well, like Mad Men, and see how women were treated. And ask yourself if you thought that was all right when your mother was that age, or your sister again, or someone else.
But that's the thing too, is that Mad Men it glorified all of that, and I feel as though, and while they kind of showed the suffering on the like whether it was Hendrix or Elizabeth Moss or any of those characters, there was still people loved Donald, right? I can't remember.
Oh yeah. The idea that you could let's face it. I mean, if you're good looking, that you can get away with all of the stuff, and if you're powerful and rich, you can get away with stuff. And then, not so much if you're other guys, but still that all men had this culture in which they thought that they could get away with it. I mean,
right.
if you said to somebody in 1960, I was date raped, the police didn't even know what that term meant.
Right.
You walk in the police station, they would be like, what do you mean you were date raped? No, rape is some guy jumping out from behind a bush in Central Park in New York. It's not, I went out to dinner and drinks, and then we went back to his place, and he forced himself on me. You're like, no, sorry, you weren't raped. That's the response you get.
Exactly. Thank you so much for this exchange, Steve. I appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day. I'm going to take a break here. And when we come back, we'll take Ann's call, and she's in Sandwich, Illinois, and we'll take Jim's call as well, 773-763-9278 to join our conversation anytime. And I'll check our text screen as well right now. You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez, WCPT 820.
Out Chicago.
You can follow WCPT on all social media at WCPT 820. And now the TikToks.
What does that mean?
Clips of President Biden and other progressive people.
Okay.
Okay.
The station is on the TikToks.
The station is on the TikToks.
Right, okay.
We're not taking and talking.
Not yet.
We got to TikToks. We got to learn. We got to create a new dance craze.
Well, we can work on that.
Or like, tell me that you're a progressive without telling me you're a progressive.
Oh.
Catch Out Chicago every Sunday, 11 to 1 on WCPT 820.
Did you know a fire department responds to a fire every 24 seconds? This Fire Prevention Month, First Alert is reminding you to be prepared by installing smoke and carbon monoxide alarms on every level and in each bedroom of your home. Don't forget to add First Alert fire extinguishers on every level and in common spaces like the kitchen, and know how to use them. Protect your whole home with safety you can trust by visiting firstalert.com and your local Ace Hardware.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-590-7516. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Providers help thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-590-7516. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-590-7516. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-590-7516. 800-590-7516.
Patti Vasquez is taking your calls now at 773-763-9278. Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez now on WCPT 820.
We are taking your calls right now, and I've got some listeners who've been holding on. Anne in Sandwich, thank you so much for hanging in there. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. It's a lovely autumnal day. What did you want to talk about? What's on your mind?
Okay, well, two things. This has been a great conversation, by the way. So my first thing, when Dave was on the phone and he was talking about some, I don't know who the gentleman is, but he was talking about some man that's been, like, grabbing people's butt.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what he was referencing, and yes, I suspect the thing that caught my attention caught your attention. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then Dave made a comment, like, about the woman whose butt was being grabbed, and he said something like, but I don't know what she was wearing.
I know.
And that really triggered me because I don't care if I have on a tight pair of pants or the baggiest pair of sweatpants on the planet. The only guy who I want touching my ass is my husband.
Right. I agree. And I was surprised that he said that, and I didn't, because I was like, I didn't even know who he was talking about. And I'm grateful that you called in to draw attention to it. And obviously Steve from the Gold Coast caught it too. Sometimes I get so startled that I'm paralyzed in the moment, and I'm glad that you called. It is never okay. I don't even know what would be the appropriate situation for any man to touch a woman's bottom.
Right.
Or anybody. Exactly. Don't touch each other's bottoms. I mean, I guess if it's I don't even know the sports thing. I never got that, like, gone out there and, like, shove them like they're cattle, like when you're hitting a cow to get it through the chute. I don't know.
Right, exactly. But then the other thing I wanted to comment on, you said you had asked if people had, like, ever made a police report about being touched or whatever.
Right.
So I had a previous job where I was harassed. I was working amongst the quote-unquote boys and harassed all the time. And when I tried to go to I went to my manager and complained, I ended up losing my job.
Oh, no, Ann.
So then I took them to court. And in the court, I was, for example, there was one gentleman who had worked. This was, first of all, it was a family-owned company, and there was a gentleman that had been working in this company for 40 years. He had at the time, he's retired now, but at the time he had a pretty big position in this company. It wasn't not one of the owners, but an employee, and he walked around every morning, hugging and kissing the women good morning.
Ugh.
And if you didn't want him to do that, like, I didn't like that, I didn't want that, and I was told, no, you have to let him, or he's going to get in big trouble.
Oh, my God. Was it a supervisor that told you had to let him hug you?
No, it was like another female. I said to another female,
see?
I don't like it, and then she told me that. And then the same gentleman, I came into work one day, so over a weekend, I had a cooking accident, and I had a burn on my chest, and it had gotten infected. So I had all this stuff. So I had a big bandage over it, but it was summertime, and the bandage was it was like wearing a T-shirt, and the bandage was showing up through my shirt a little bit. And he actually said to me, I hope you don't get a scar there, because men don't like women with scars on their breast.
What the?
Right? So then they said to me, I'm explaining this in the court, and they said to me, well, why don't you go to the HR? Why don't you go to HR? And then I said, because I see the HR lady letting him hug her and kiss her every single day.
Exactly.
How can I go to HR and complain?
Yes.
I go to my boss to complain, and I get fired.
Right. I had the same trajectory. The executive at my office, even on his last day, even made a joke, said HR is going to be happy to see me go because there won't be a line outside her door anymore.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, made a joke at the party. That's the thing, is that, like, that's when people attack the women who are coming forward with all these shades of reinforcing the harassment, saying that they waited too long or they just want money or all, and most of them can't, because most of us are beyond the statute of limitations. But that us coming forward is somehow appalling. The actions are not. These men with power get to live these big, large lives, and we get smaller and smaller, just being afraid to occupy the space without calling attention to ourselves.
Right.
It's horrible. I'm so sorry that happened to you, Ann. Were you able to resolve it in court?
Yes, I got a little chunk of change.
I'm glad to hear that, but it would have been better to do what you were, to have the job that you had, or at least, they have the peace of mind that the whole world isn't against you, because they start gaslighting you that your reality isn't happening.
I know, it's horrible. It's just like the worst. It took me a long time before I could trust working again.
Yes.
So
I'm telling you, Ann, we're here together. I'm here anytime you want to call and talk, okay?
Okay.
I appreciate it, Ann. Thank you. Hey, any chance you want to go to Wizard World? I have an extra pass for the weekend. If you want to go to Wizard World the weekend of the, I do. If anyone wants to go to Wizard World, it's in Rosemont. We're giving away a pair of 3-day passes. Do you want to go?
No, I can't.
All right, then.
I wish I could because I would love to see Shatner. Oh my God!
Come on. I've got. All right, direct message me if you change your mind. All right.
Okay, I will.
I'm gonna give these away in the next half hour. All right, Ann. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you for calling.
Okay.
Take care. Thank you so much. Bye. I'm going to get to Jim's before I go to the break because I've had him on hold for so long, and we have Representative Stephanie Kifowit.
Hey. Chivalry is dead. The thing I admire most in men, chivalry is dead. Why it's dead, I don't know. You've got a maniac on a bus with Billy Bush who said he can grab women's genitalia, stick his rotten tongue down their throat.
Yep.
And Jim Lehrer, who used to do the presidential debate, said that would have disqualified any human being on the planet. But yet 76 million people
I know.
Voted for this maniac. But chivalry was the thing that I admired most in men. If they don't know how to act around a woman, I say bring back dueling.
Dueling.
Bring back dueling. I really mean it.
I would say what's gone is that women. There are more women who are standing up and saying enough, because this was always there. The diminishing, the minimalizing and marginalization of women, the way in which we've been touched and talked about has been there. And some men would step up for us, stand up for us. And that's the thing, is that it's never been our own autonomy. And so that's, I think the biggest difference is that a lot of us are not going to take it anymore. But also in a lot of spaces, other women aren't helpful as well. And that's a problem. I think that we're done. We're mad as hell. And we're not taking it anymore, Jim.
No, I agree. Anyway, take care, Betty. Take care.
I appreciate that, Jim. Always great to hear from you. Let's take a break here. When we come back, we are going to take some more of our calls. We also are going to talk to Representative Stephanie Kifowit. She shared us a newspaper article today that people had questions about. We want to talk to her, and we want to talk to her about the all-female honor flight that she was paying honor to as well. I'm excited to talk to her about that. And our number is 773-763-9278. We will be right back after this on Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive on WCPT Willow Springs is powered by ComEd. Lower your energy bills and reduce your carbon footprint with the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago traffic update.
On Chicago's north side in the Edgewater neighborhood, Bryn Mawr is shut between Broadway and Winthrop, where a construction crane fell onto the Bryn Mawr L tracks. Because of that, Red and Purple Line Express service halted both ways between Belmont and Howard. Shuttle buses are being provided. Southbound side of the Tri-State is solid from Dempster down to the Bensonville Railroad Bridge, mixed in at Manheim with the crash blocking the right lane. Now the Eden's in from Lakewood Road 35, 15 on the flip. Kennedy out to the split 26, Express Avia 1049 out to O'Hare. Inbound to Canfield, word of a crash. O'Hare back in 47, 22 of that on in from the junction. High outbound at 5th Avenue, earlier accident gone, damage done. Circle out to 391 hour. Stevenson inbound at the Tri-State, an accident in the left lane. That's traffic. I'm Mary DeBadges.
Your life, your hopes, and whatever you were searching for at 1:15 a.m. It's really none of our business, and it shouldn't be anyone else's. Protect your privacy online for free with DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
So, what are you sipping? Whether it's our freshly ground coffee to wake you up or an icy Polar Pop cup or Froster to keep you going, our new Sip and Save drink subscription at Circle K will keep you refreshed every day. Join Circle K's Sip and Save and grab any size drink every day for just $5.99 a month. Yeah! Start sipping and saving today. Just sign up with your mobile number when you check out at Circle K. Limited time offer at participating locations.
This is Joan Esposito, and here at WCPT, we love pets. So much that we're spotlighting an adoptable, adorable dog or cat every month. So many deserving pets are waiting for their forever home. We've partnered with community shelters and our sponsors, Love for Dogs Pet Grooming and Mark Drugs, to talk about why rescue is best It's all on Joan Esposito Live, Local and Progressive. See our current adoptable at WCPT820.com.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
My friend Marty, he wants to split the party. He wants blue folks in red states to vote green. I can see his point, though I really gotta say, no, we can't have another 2016. It seems nothing beats orange, nothing
Dear
even freaking
Lord,
rhymes
don't let
with
us
it.
have another 2016. You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez, and that's Steve Goody, his album, What I Did During My Pandemic Vacation. You can pick up on his website, stevegoody.com. And on the line with us right now, I know... Oh, by the way, before, Representative Kifowit, do you mind if I take a call? Because I think that one of our listeners wants to clarify something that he referenced. Do you mind, Rep? Rep?
No, not at all.
Thank you so much. Hold on one second. Dave's on the air. Hi, Dave. I figured you might want to call back because I didn't, because you said I don't know what she was wearing.
Yes. I didn't condone it that I would do it. I just said I didn't know what she was wearing to trigger this Urban Meyer to do what he did.
But it doesn't matter. I've been wearing, I mean, it doesn't matter what she was wearing because men get triggered by anything. They don't have to be wearing anything, I think, is what I would like to push back on. That's all.
Okay, fine. Yeah. But then secondly, I kind of found it very strange for Steve to get on the moral horse about that. When a couple of years ago on family meeting, he was telling them about the fact that when he took a date out, it depended on what side of the menu she ordered from. And if it was from the left side, well, she better, do it.
Wow. Okay, now we got callers going after each other. Steve's going to call back. I think I have to have a forum for just you guys.
But I only speak the truth.
Dave, okay. Anyway, Rep, we've been talking about some of the stories that were coming out of the Tribune and the Chicago Park District Lifeguard stories, and I reached out to you today, Rep, first of all, because I miss you. How are you doing, Representative Stephanie Kifowit?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, and it caught my attention today because I don't know if you saw, for my birthday in August, I asked folks to donate to Honor Flight, and I was really excited to see one of my friends' dads go. He is a veteran of the Vietnam War. For folks who aren't familiar, tell them what Honor Flight is first.
Well, Honor Flight started by a woman named Mary Pettinato, whose father was a World War II veteran and had never made it to Washington to see his memorial. And that was the case with many World War II veterans. So they started by flying World War II veterans to Washington for a one-day trip to honor them at the World War II Memorial and with a trip to Washington. And they have since expanded it now, as you said, to the Vietnam-era veterans to honor them for their service as well.
And I love that because I saw one of the flights in D.C. a few years ago, and it is amazing. People are cheering them as they leave the airport in Chicago, when they arrive in D.C. to go whether the Korean War Memorial or the World War II. Have you had a chance to travel to D.C.? I know that you've been to the airport to see off and welcome some of the flights. Have you had a chance to go to D.C.?
Oh, I've actually been a guardian on one of the first flights with a World War II veteran named Don Futamasi, who has since left us. And it's just amazing to be with that generation and those veterans. And overall, it's just amazing to be a guardian on those flights. So I've experienced it myself.
And your admiration for our vets supersedes your term as a legislator. You yourself are a veteran. Tell us a little bit about being a Marine, because your story is amazing. It wasn't something like you didn't grow up thinking, I'm going to be a Marine someday. It was a decision that you made, and it has shaped you into somebody who I think has really been devoted to public service in ways that maybe many of us don't even have access to intellectually. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's amazing.
I think it's amazing.
I don't know. I was just a high school kid, and I wanted to do something that nobody else did, and something that was exciting. And so I decided, really, on the spur of the moment, to drive to the recruiter and sign up to be a Marine. I actually looked up the recruiting office in a telephone book. A lot of people don't know what that is these days. I'm the generation of telephone books, and I signed up and I shipped off, actually not knowing what to expect, and loved my service in the Marines. And like you said, I've just been called to service pretty much ever since, which is a lot of veterans.
It really, yeah, I agree. And that's what was so strange in this article from the Sun-Times. I saw that, I didn't realize that you had posted this 5 days ago from the Chicago Sun-Times, and they were talking about people who get property tax breaks. And they're singling out, I mean, we know that there are different rates or exemptions for senior citizens, but the Sun-Times, it's kind of a strange piece where they single out U.S. Senator Tammy Duckworth and I believe an alderman and some police officers whose property taxes are entirely wiped off the books. And the way they phrase this, I was kind of like, they are setting them up as targets for people to resent them, is the way I'm reading this story. Was that kind of the way they're putting a dollar amount on the suffering and what they've endured as injured veterans? Tell us a little bit about your reaction to that piece.
No, absolutely. And just to clarify it, in my view, and I think I can speak with several others in the General Assembly, this is a benefit. It's not a property tax break. It's a property tax benefit for the service of individuals that are disabled from serving in the armed forces. It's a benefit, just like the GI Bill is a benefit, just like VA home loans are a benefit. This is the way of the state of Illinois to say thank you for putting yourself in harm's way and living with the physical and the mental disabilities that come from war. So, and the Sun-Times is really being disingenuous with a small fraction of property taxpayers that is barely a drop in the bucket of the property tax situation.
And the complaint that people had that I saw on your thread and the tone of this article is basically like, and they certainly earn enough, as though the expectation is that a disabled veteran shouldn't go on and pursue any sort of career where they might reap the benefits of how good they are at something. Then they should forego the benefit that you're talking about. It's like a snake eating itself. Is that we want to make sure that you get this benefit, but not if you earn too much, because we want our disabled veterans to stay impoverished. I don't know what the point is.
It's not a benefit. It's a thank you. It's a thank you for your service, and it should not even be put in that context. To be quite honest, I don't know Senator Duckworth's balance sheet. I don't know how much money she has to pay for her expenses. I don't even know if she shares the expensive property in Washington with other congressional individuals. And you know what? I don't care. I thank her for her service.
Exactly.
And God bless her. And myself as a veteran and many other veterans look at her to the hero that she is.
Thank you.
It's disingenuous the way that article was written. And again, I can talk about the real issues with property taxes. It's not our disabled veterans. The real issues, the extended period of TIF districts, the undervalued corporate property taxes, undervalued businesses, undervalued there is so much that I can spend 5 hours talking about the real problem of property taxes. It is not our disabled veterans. It is not the benefit and the thank you that the General Assembly bestowed upon them for their service and for their honor and for the fact that they're living with disabilities. It's not an easy. They think it's so easy to get disability ratings from the VA. It's not. And this is for our disabled veterans who are living with physical and mental disabilities from war.
Yeah. I don't understand what the nature of this article was. Again, like you said, there are a lot of other things we could talk about. How our property tax system is absolutely warped. I mean, it is unsustainable for people. I remember when you posted a couple of years ago the property tax assessment for a home that was it looked like it was about 20% the value of the home.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we have grossly undervalued properties. We have TIF districts that are taking money away from the school districts, which is 70% of the property tax bill. We have the state underfunding school districts, which makes the property taxes go up. There's so much, and disabled veterans is not the problem, and helping seniors and the senior freeze is not the problem. It's just not. There are many other corporate and other issues that shift property tax burden onto homeowners that we can address. And we, hopefully, under new leadership in the House, we will start addressing those in the future.
Yeah, that's what everybody wants. I think that property taxes are probably one of the big things. I know I've been seeing that a lot of the I watch the polling now, having run for office, and I know in my neighborhood what the conservatives are talking about is they think that government waste is one of the biggest problems in Illinois government. And I'm sure you've had this conversation. I know that there are things that we can do, but the question always to Republicans is, well, what would you like to cut? And they don't come back with anything necessarily, do they?
No, and I believe it's former Governor Thompson, correct me if I'm wrong, said if fraud, waste, and abuse was a line item in the budget, it would be easy to cut.
Right.
The end of the day is you cannot have 100% perfect establishment. Government is, of course, not perfect, but the bulk of what we do is helping people, and that is what government is about, helping people, and that's the bulk of it. Do we try to root out waste, fraud, and abuse all the time?
Yep.
But at the end of the day, we're here to help people, and if some individuals want to call that wasteful spending or entitlement spending to make sure that people aren't in poverty, then shame on that.
Yep. By the way, one of our listeners who's watching on our Facebook live stream says that he's a veteran, and to get disability, he said, I am 100% disabled. I had to get an attorney and go to court, to your point about how hard it is to get verified as a disabled veteran with the VA. So wanted to just share that with you as well. We have a listener who wants to join the conversation about the honor flights. Hi, Janet. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing well, thanks, and I hope you are also.
Thank you.
I'm calling. I'm not a veteran. My brother and two brother-in-laws are veterans of the Vietnam War, and two of them have been wounded and get some money from the government for having partial disability. And I've been to the gatherings after the honor flights come in, and I have to tell you, I went to two of them. I couldn't go anymore because there was so much political talk there and hatred about the government, particularly progressives and Democrats, and people touting Trump and things like that, that it just really turned me off. And I find it ironic that veterans even support that man, because if anything, he disrespected every veteran he ever came in contact with.
But for some reason they didn't. And Representative Kifowit, you remember when he said that John McCain was not honorable because he got caught, and all these, I mean, there were many things he said, but for some reason veterans didn't hear it that way, or they thought of him as someone who's a straight shooter kind of thing. Wasn't that the impression you got?
Well, I think we're lumping veterans in with a broad stroke.
Fair.
There's a lot of veterans that I know that were appalled by that. There's a vocal minority that I think, is what we're talking about here. And it's a shame that the vocal minority has a forum for it. But there's a lot of veterans that, and Republican veterans, going back to the Sun-Times article, that are appalled at that as well. So I think it's a vocal minority that makes themselves visible. It's not the veteran community as a whole.
Janet, did you hear what we were talking about? How they've done all female flights for the honor flights. Representative Kifowit, are there more scheduled for the all female flights?
I think they're going to try and get another one next year. This is the only one scheduled for this year.
Okay, Janet, you and I should go out there for the all female flights.
I'd love tonigght tonight's the welcome home at Midway Airport. A lot of people are there to welcome the veterans back home from their flight, and I'm sure you'd be well received.
So where do folks go to welcome the flights back? Is there information on their website for where to meet up to cheer the veterans as they deboard?
Just pretty much you'll see people walking by the baggage area, where you'd meet your loved one from the airport. They're going to come off the air flight there at Midway, and there's back when I did the welcome homes a couple of years ago, there's a aisle that they walked down, and a lot of people there with balloons and signs and clapping and cheering and welcoming them home.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that information. Thank you, Janet. Did you want to share anything else?
Thank you.
Of course.
No, I love your show, and I love the idea of honoring our veterans.
Me too.
They really do make the country the land of the free, home of the brave.
I agree. Thank you so much, Janet. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks.
Thank you. Well, Rep, is there anything you want to share with us before I let you go? I know you're very busy, and I appreciate your time. Is there anything you're working on that you want to make sure people know about?
No, we're just as your caller says. Myself as a Democrat who's a veteran, routinely have to stick up for our fellow veterans who are not extreme and who are very respectful of our Constitution and of our rights. And just want to say that Democrats who are veterans are out there, and we don't represent the vocal minority of the other side of the aisle.
Fair enough. I appreciate that. I'll be coming down for a veto session, by the way, probably the week of the 20th, if not before, because you guys are down there for the last weeks of October, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
Excellent. Well, then I look forward to interviewing you down there as well. Have a great rest of your evening, Rep, and I'll catch up with you in Springfield, if not sooner.
Yeah, you too. Take care and have a great night.
You too. Bye. That's Representative Stephanie Kifowit, and she's a friend of the show. We love having her on. And before I forget, I've got to give away a pair of 3-day passes to Wizard World. I know I've talked about this before. I am such a dork for Wizard World. We've been taking our boys there since 2013, 14 maybe, and it is so much fun. As you've heard, all the great guests they're going to have, including Michael Rooker and William Shatner, folks from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, all the great shows that I feel like I'm mentioning the ones that I know. But you know, there's going to be so many people there, all the superhero shows like Arrow and Batwoman. We are giving away a pair of 3-day passes to Wizard World. Wizard World is back at the Donald E. Stevens Convention Center in Rosemont. Come see your favorite superheroes, authors, actors, and more. Tickets to Wizard World are still available at wizardworld.com. Wizard World is following COVID precautions. Vaccination cards are required for entry. So contests running on WCPT are open to listeners 18 or older and residents of the greater Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana area. One entry per person, one winner per household. Void where prohibited by law. Listeners may only win or qualify to win once every 30 days. Complete rules are available on our website at WCPT820.com by clicking the contest tab. But right now, I am giving away a pair of 3-day passes. So that is at 773-763-9278. That's 773-763-9278. We're going to give that away to our third caller. Lady B's on the phone for you. So give us a call for a pair of tickets for 3-day passes to Wizard World. More in a moment on Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
It's official. The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath is on WCPT 820.
The reality is right in our face, and we have work to do, and people know it.
The former Lincoln Park alderman and former CEO of the Sun-Times, Edwin Eisendrath,
it's familiar to many of you,
will give his unique spin on the political climate every Saturday afternoon from 1 to 4 p.m.
You won't want to miss that, and I'm going to want to hear from you.
The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath.
Look, this country has Democrats, and it has Republicans, and it has mayors.
Only on WCPT 820.
The whole goal is to point people to something bigger.
What if the news was different and covered more than one side of the story? Not just the who or the what, but the why. What do we want? What if it took you closer?
It's information and people want it.
So you can make up your own mind. What if the news lets you think for yourself? Introducing a new point of view. Yours. Newsy. Watch Newsy free on your TV. Learn more at newsy.com.
This is the sound of the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program, saving you money and energy while helping you lower your carbon footprint. With discounts on Energy Star certified LED bulbs, so you can come back to a home full of savings. Learn more at ComEd.com/lighting. ComEd, powering lives.
So, what are you sipping? Whether it's our freshly ground coffee to wake you up or an icy Polar Pop cup or Froster to keep you going, our new Sip and Save drink subscription at Circle K will keep you refreshed every day. Join Circle K's Sip and Save and grab any size drink every day for just $5.99 a month. Yeah. Start sipping and saving today. Just sign up with your mobile number when you check out at Circle K. Limited time offer at participating locations.
Patti Vasquez is taking your calls now at 773-763-9278. Driving it home with Patti Vasquez now on WCPT 820.
We are heading into the home stretch as we wind things down. I'm Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez and making way for the Rick Unger Show coming up at 6 o'clock. And I know that Roosevelt's been on hold for a bit, so I appreciate your patience, Roosevelt. Hey, Roosevelt, how are you doing?
Hello, Patty. How you doing today? Thank you for taking my call.
Of course.
Hey, listen, that was a great caller. And if I may, I want to add to that. Any disabled veteran should get a house automatically. I mean, it's ridiculous. Or a little help for their house. That's the least this government can do. You know?
I agree.
And I mean, to go through all that as far as the training, the discipline, the defending our country, and then you're going to not reward the veterans, and then you're going to give them a hard time? Like the gentleman that's disabled, and you said that he had to get a lawyer. I think that's what you said.
Yeah, our friend Gary.
That's ridiculous.
Yep, had to go to court.
I just had to say something about that because it's all show when it comes down to the other side. They're for defense, but they're not for veterans. They're for a contract for all these companies, all these businesses that have government contracts, and they're once they're done, that's it. The veterans are done, they forget about them.
Right, they're just meat to them.
Yeah, I'm going to say something about what the shooting that happened in Texas. And I don't know what your stance is as far as guns, but the solution is not more guns. Let me give you something that happened last week. I accidentally was watching Fox News. I rarely do. They got a show called The Five, and these knuckleheads were there, and one guy is Dan Bongino. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
No, I've never heard of him.
Okay, yeah, well, I did it for you. I mean, I watched Fox News.
Thank you. Someone has to watch it for us.
And there's another guy, Jesse Wright, I think his last name. Anyway, they were talking about guns. And this guy, Jesse, was, they were bantering back and forth. And there was this lady, she's a Fox News contributor. I think her name is Jessica Tarlov. And Dan Bongino, he's a right-winger to the max. He's got his own show on Up the Dial, let's just say. And he said that he gave numbers on how crime has gone up under Biden. And the lady that was there said those numbers are from 2020. And that's when Trump was in office.
Right.
And the other goof off, the other group said, well, knife skill, just go down to Brazil and see how many knives, how many people get knifed. And the lady, the Fox News contributor said, yeah, but you don't hear of mass knife attack, and that was a great point. And that they always bring that up, that anything could kill, even cars. They bring up the cars.
They talk about hammers. Yep, I know.
Hammers and all that stuff. So I thought it was ridiculous. And that's how disingenuous the Fox News is. And speaking of disingenuous, McCain. Meghan McCain. She was on
The View, isn't she?
Chuck Todd.
Okay.
She was in Chuck Todd 2 weekends ago, and that money that Biden wants, the 3.5. She said it was 5 trillion, not 3.5 trillion. She is the biggest, promoter of guns too. That's why I brought her up.
Right. Ugh.
She is the biggest promoter, and to me, we're in the state we're in with all these, guns. It's because the NRA has all these guys in their pocket, and I may add, some Democrats, not a lot, some Democrats, but in general, But in general, remember Rubio when he was confronted by that kid, Hogg, his last name is Hogg, from that high school in Florida?
Yeah.
So Rubio got $3 million and Trump got $30 million.
It's insane.
When he ran.
Yep.
So that's what I wanted to say.
They buy those offices. Yep.
And let's call it gun regulation, not gun control, because
I know
they blow their minds up.
They do. They get very upset. Thank you so much for your thoughts, Roosevelt. Have a great rest of your evening.
You too.
I've got to run because the Rick Unger Show is up next. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll be back tomorrow at 5:00. We've got an author on again tomorrow, so looking forward to having that conversation with you. Be well. Thank you, Lady B. Thank you everyone here at WCPT. Have a lovely evening. Bye.
Wizard World returns to Chicago October 15th through the 17th at Stevens Convention Center in Rosemont. Celebrate pop culture and meet William Shatner, Michael Rooker, Outlander's Sam Heughan, and stars from Harry Potter, Buffy, Arrow, Once Upon a Time, and more. Plus, artists, Q&As, music, you name it. You can even dress up in your favorite costume. It's okay. It's Wizard World. Tickets start at $40. Kids 10 and under are free. Visit wizardworld.com for more info. Have your kids been watching the same superhero movies during this pandemic? Well, how would you like to be a super parent by taking them to Wizard World on us? Wizard World is back at the Stevens Convention Center in Rosemont, October 15th through the 17th. Enter before October 9th at the WCPT Club at WCPT820.com for a chance to win a pair of 3-day passes or possibly a family 4-pack of weekend VIP passes. Tickets are still available at wizardworld.com. For COVID protocols, you'll need an ID and Vax card to get in.
With each breath, allergens, germs, and viruses get trapped in your nose. Now there's a simple and effective way to clean your nose and protect your health. It's called Navage, available at Navage.com.
AP News, I'm Tim McGuire. Senator